Hello, welcome back to World Sport on CNN. We're live from Britain's Open Golf Championship on day 2 of the tournament. Let's turn our attention though to Formula One, because this weekend's race at Silverstone will see a big change to the sport with the introduction of a new sprint qualifying format. But just a couple of days ago we had a stark reminder that off the track it's a sport that still has a long way to go in terms of diversity. The Hamilton Commission, set up by 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton with the aim of improving diversity and access within the motorsport industry, found that just 1% of F1's 40,000 employees were from black backgrounds. Former CEO of the McLaren Formula One team, Martin Whitmarsh, spent 25 years in F1 and was one of the men responsible for bringing Hamilton into the sport. He was part of the commission and has admitted he didn't do enough to increase diversity. Amanda Davis has been speaking to him and fellow commission members about their findings.
I wasn't surprised by a lot of the findings. I think it's things that we knew that we maybe didn't have quantified or detailed or have explored to this level. So for me, it was not a surprise, but also it still is disappointing, right? Being able to see in the statistics, in the stories, in the anecdotes, in the case studies, kind of the state of play that we have for Black people in motorsport and for young Black people exploring STEM and considering their STEM options.
Martin, from your perspective, as somebody who has spent so much of your career in motorsport, how much has it made you reconsider things or reevaluate?
The commission experience was really humbling and a terrific sort of learning experience for me. You know, I spent nearly 25 years in the sport, focused on performance and trying to win, frankly, not with a sort of a broader regard to social issues or any other particular agenda. And, you know, whilst I hadn't or didn't believe that I'd witnessed sort of conscious racial discrimination, you know, I was aware that the barriers to entry were high to get into the sport. You know, Formula One requires more than boots and a ball or a racket and ball. So for the athletes, it's extremely difficult to get into the sport without a lot of help. Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsport. Its focus is on performance and winning and excellence. It's traditionally recruited from the top universities. And really, one of my learning was that in itself is discriminatory. As sort of the disadvantaged in our society, they don't feel invited to those institutions. And I think that was the big lesson for me.
Was there perhaps a degree of embarrassment that that's the case?
No, well, not embarrassment, but I think, I was in a leadership position for nearly 25 years in Formula One. I didn't do enough. I don't, and that's something that you reflect on with time and experience. We weren't using that opportunity, and I think that's the big learning, that we can come out of this. I don't think we should come out trying to apologise for the sport. Formula One isn't unlike many other sections of society, but we should come out of it saying we can do better, and we can use Formula One, and particularly, of course, we can use Lewis, who's developed into this iconic figure who transcends Formula One. And he's a great catalyst and a great ambassador for this messaging. So I think Formula One can do a lot more, not just for Formula One, but for society in general.
In terms of people being allowed into the sport, from your impression, is it actively racist, or is it just the system isn't set up in the right way?
Yeah, I think it's definitely been unconscious, and I don't know that I would necessarily say outright that it's fully racist, but it's not anti-racist, and so make of that what you will.
How much were you aware at the time, in those early dealings with Lewis, that you were breaking the mould and doing something differently?
Well, I think what you were aware, I mean, Lewis, when I first met him, I guess he was probably 13. He had been told to look you in the eye and try and break your hand with a handshake. And that, he did just that. He held your attention. His commitment to win, even at that early age, was very, very clear. In terms of his ethnicity, I don't think we truly considered that. Obviously, people started to talk about it as we started to support. Would he be, the first mixed heritage racing driver to make it all the way through to Formula One? But that was an issue being discussed by others. We were trying to help someone who was gifted and clearly didn't come from an advantaged background and therefore needed our help to achieve his potential.
Martin, from your perspective, how hopeful are you?
I'm confident that we can make a difference. I'm confident that, and Anne-Marie is much more articulate about this than I am. But I think, we've got to be consciously anti-racist, and we've got to make a contribution to society, and we can stimulate that because we've got this platform of Formula One and we've got this icon called Lewis Hamilton. So I think, but we've got to put the work in, and we've got to make sure that the report doesn't get circulated, some grand gestures made, and then it goes away. So, this is, as Anne-Marie said, this is only a start. At the moment, we're, creating a discussion, we're creating some awareness, but we've really got to make sure that the sport signs up to a charter and commits to changing its actions. Otherwise, the results won't be different.